So Matt Bevin is he's the guy running against Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, and we have had several conversations off air. While he has not received any endorsements yet, he has been spoken to by many people in Freedom Works and the Senate Conservative Fund. They speak highly of him. In fact, I was told by a couple of people that he is the best constitutional candidate they have seen in the nation.
Wow.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Mike Lee yet about him. I don't know. Matt?
Yes, sir.
How are you, sir?
I am doing well, thank you. And again, thanks to the production, I have a direct satellite uplink due to those resources you were just referring to.
No, it sounds good. I think Keith was in charge of that satellite uplink.
Yeah.
Matt, have you talked to Mike Lee at all? Has he given you the third degree?
I have, and it's interesting. The very first conversation I had with him, I found myself talking about Madison's opinions on the commerce, clause, and it was just kind of funny. To say that I'm a constitutionalist like Mike Lee is, or like Ted Cruz, would be an insult to them. Although we did have some interesting discussions, and I think the world of both those guys.
Okay, well, I haven't talked to them yet. Oh, I plan on it, Matt. But I haven't talked to them yet. But I have heard that you are good on the Constitution. Now, here's the concern. There's two concerns. One, you take on what's his smackle?
Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. I'd have it here. I'd know what it was.
Oh, that's right. Because you would know what the phrase was, but you don't have the prep.
I don't have the prep right in front of me.
What's his smackle?
No rush, Keith. No rush.
There's people here in Kentucky that aren't quite sure who our senior senator is.
I know. I bet that's true.
So
true.
Mitch McConnell, you take him on, and I think he's weak enough to beat in the primary. But are you known, and can you take on whoever the left would put up against you? Because they'll pour a lot of money in this.
Yes.
Okay,
the answer is absolutely yes. The race, to me, is more critically the primary, interestingly, because while I was being facetious, he is well known. He's been a senator for nearly 30 years here. He's been a public employee here in Kentucky for 50 years plus. So he's known, and he has a lot of connections. But the candidate that the left has put up is the Secretary of State, Allison Grimes, a delightful person, but very devoid of depth on issues, and also on the wrong side of things for a very conservative state. We are socially and fiscally conservative. She is not so much, and that, I think, is going to be less of a battle than the primary itself.
Okay, hold on just a second. Keith, go ahead. Keith has finally arrived. We're only 10 minutes into the hour, and that's a good job. That's thank you very much. Oh, this is TV. TV did the prep. Okay, good. Thank you, Keith. You look at this. This is all, and all this is just something printed off of his website. That's all this is. Holy cow. Okay, so Matt, tell me about yourself, and let's. I asked you last night, and I thought I got a satisfactory answer on how's your soul. Tell me a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into some of the issues of the day.
Sure. I'm a guy who grew up. I'm the second of 6 children. I grew up in the country in a 3-bedroom house, grew pretty much everything we ate on our own land, and had a variety of animals for eggs and meat and milk and such, and a very Spartan lifestyle, but a good one. And it was a home grounded very much on Judeo-Christian ethics and principles, and my Christian faith really is the cornerstone of who I am as a person. So my entire life as a business person, as a husband, as a father, how I'll be as a politician is grounded in my Christian faith. So that's me from a broad stroke. I put myself through college. My dad worked in a small wood mill, and my parents weren't in a position to help with that, which was fine. Put myself through college and then joined the military. I was an Army officer on active duty for a number of years, but then since then left the military a little over 20 years ago and have worked exclusively in the private sector. I'm a small business owner. I'm a guy who employs other people and pays taxes and pays attention. And that's why I'm in this race, because I do not see the future American dream being offered to future generations in the way that it was to mine and those that preceded me.
Let me just get this out on the table so we could just end this thing quickly, in case this happens to be. But do you believe that rape is sometimes the way God works to create children?
No.
Okay, good. All right, just wanted to get that one out.
No, I don't have any burning desire to discuss the physiology of women at any stage in this campaign.
Okay, good. All right. So let's talk about if you were in the Senate today, where would you stand on what's going on? And you had people saying to you, we've got to compromise. We have to give in. It's not a big win for us as a Republican. What would you be saying today, and what would your case be against Obamacare? How would you make this case?
Yeah, those are the two. There's two critical things, and that's one of them. Obamacare specifically as it relates to this CR, but then additionally the debt limit. These two things are kind of stepping on each other as we head into October here. As it relates to Obamacare, I have been calling for, from the very get-go, since I announced my candidacy in July, exactly what is now being done. And I've had conversations with some of the aforementioned senators and others about the fact that what the House is doing by sending this bill minus the funding for Obamacare to the Senate is exactly what I've been calling for. And I applaud, and I heard you yesterday, and you're right. I don't think there's a tremendous amount of spine on the part of Boehner, but I nonetheless applaud the fact that he has, sent this bill forward and that they are now refusing to blink. I hope that will continue, but I think that is the right thing to do. The American people do not want this. They cannot afford it. It is clear that it is so flawed that, in fact, it is not able to be implemented. If it is not able to be implemented as the law of the land for everyone, then it should not be implemented, period. And all this defunding will do, as you know, is simply kick this can down the road, which is, frankly, not the right solution, but it is, at this moment in time, the best that can be done, which is not to fund the implementation of Obamacare.
We're talking to Matt Bevin. He is running for the Senate. He is running for Mitch McConnell's seat. The president says that it is reckless to hold back on the debt ceiling, and that anybody who stands against raising the debt ceiling is trying to collapse the economy. And he says that it is just by raising the debt ceiling doesn't mean we're taking on more debt. Response?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. This is he's lying to the American people, is what he's doing. Straight up. You can sugarcoat that any way you want. That is not true. And this is a man who is devoid of economic understanding, if in fact he believes it to be true. There is no way. The government does not just receive money on April 15th. There is constantly money flowing into the Treasury that more than exceeds our ability to meet our obligations for paying interest on the debt. There is no chance of default whatsoever as a result of not raising the debt limit. And this baloney that raising the debt limit doesn't mean that we're going to borrow more money is just some kind of a sham. We have, in the last 16 years, raised the debt limit at least 9 times to the tune of $6.7 trillion. We now have $17 trillion in debt. This did not come because we didn't borrow money. It's a absolute fool's game if we fall for it again without some significant acknowledgement and concessions specific to the fact that we are in a fiscal crisis in this country, and we cannot continue down this unsustainable path.
How do you fix the things like the NSA and the Fed? Where do you stand on those things, constitutionally speaking?
Yeah, I mean, constitutionally, it's specific to the NSA. I mean, the closest we can get to it as to what a senator might do is things like the Patriot Act. It has been, as I understand it, I believe been renewed now through like June of 2015. And it has been, since its initial iteration, had various reiterations that have been, proposed and voted on. I'm not a fan of the Patriot Act. I think it's an overreach. I think it is the living embodiment of what Ben Franklin warned about when he said that the nation that trades its liberty for security deserves neither, and we will have neither if we keep doing this. I would not vote to reapprove the Patriot Act. I think it is an overreach where our federal government is spying on law-abiding citizens. I think it's unconstitutional per the Fourth Amendment. I think it's inappropriate. I'm not a proponent of that. The second point, remind me what that was.
The Fed.
The Fed. For starters, you can't. It's like going to war. You can't just, once you're there, even if you got there for reasons that you wish you hadn't, you can't just say, oh, hey, let's come home next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. It's not that simple. And just ending the Fed, for example, which many folks are proponents of, it's not as simple as that. However, I am a huge proponent of auditing the Fed. There is no reason why we should not know where that money is going, how our money is being used, who is benefiting. And I know for a fact, as a student of history, that the antiseptic light of truth is sometimes the very best thing that can be done to create the kind of outrage that does result in dramatic change. And I think we start by auditing the Fed and understanding exactly what's going on behind these curtains.
Are you more of a straight-up conservative, or do you have libertarian leanings, or how would you describe yourself and the libertarian point of view?
You know, again, I'm a conservative Republican. And as a conservative, I mean conservative as in not, in some semantical name game, but literally a fiscal and social conservative. And so there are many things that I believe that folks who would consider themselves libertarians would very much agree with. Many, many things. But what I am above all, I'm a tax-paying business owner in America, and I'm a father, and I'm a guy who's out there in the real world, and I feel and see every day the impact of an overreaching government, and I see that it is sucking the entrepreneurial life out of this nation and of our future, and these are the things that have led me to the table. And these things color my thinking, and these things allow me to fit any number of categories because I see the truth as best I'm able, and I realize we've got to make changes in Washington. We cannot keep doubling down on career politicians and expect anything to be better in the future.
Matt, when you Google your name, one of the first things that comes up is an interview you did with MSNBC. It says, Matt Bevin, I'm not a Tea Party guy. Now, apart from not being a card-carrying member of the Tea Party or not going to the rallies, which I haven't done either and I haven't joined, I'm not really uncomfortable with that label. Are you? And if so, why?
No, that was something that was taken out of context. If you actually look at that whole video, you'll be able to appreciate how it was. I have tremendous support from folks within the Tea Party. More than 15 different Tea Parties around the state are supportive of my campaign, which I'm grateful for. I was, on April 15th, 2009, I was actually at the very first rally that took place in Louisville, just as a member of the crowd. And I actually, on that day, and you could look this up in the kind of who is under domain names, I took a domain name that day, which was a little edgy. I've done nothing with it, but when the day of the stimulus and the day of that rally, I realized, this stimulus package is enslaving future generations of this country. And I own the domain name StimulusSlave.com. And so while I've never been a member per se of a Tea Party, what I try to remind people, when they go in the voting booth, there is no Tea Party candidate. Mm-hmm. They're going to vote for a Republican. I am a conservative Republican. But so many things, especially of a fiscal nature, I am in lockstep with those that have been very active in the Tea Party. I'm proud to be referred to as such. I just want people to understand I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. I don't want to give the impression that I've been a Tea Party leader. I just have not. I'm the father of 9 children, and I own a number of businesses, and I've been busy paying taxes and living life.
Oh, 9 children. You know what causes that, right?
Well, I do. 4 of them are adopted. That causes them in bunches.
Right. The inevitable question, though.
Well, it has to be. I mean, 9. You gotta. There's a reason for that. But Matt, let me ask you. Let me ask you this: what do you know about Common Core?
I know a fair bit about Common Core, and although I love the premise of the ideology behind it, which is you'd love a kid from Alabama to know what a kid from Arkansas, what a kid from Alaska knows on the day they graduate from high school. It is trying to fix a problem with a bigger problem. I think, again, you talk about encroachments on the Fourth Amendment. Talk about an overreach. The amount of invasion of privacy, not only of the students, but of their parents, and of everything that goes on within their homes, that for reason alone, the education side apart, that for reasons alone would be reasons to be very leery of this. I am not a proponent of the Common Core. I do not think it solves the problem it attempts to solve. And I think the fact that it has been largely originated out of various foundations, as opposed to people who really are where the rubber meets the road educationally, is not part of the solution either.
All right. Matt, I'd love to have more conversations with you, but I appreciate you coming on the air with us, and I appreciate you standing.
I tell you, Glenn, thank you for having me. If folks want to learn more, they can go to mattbevin.com. I would appreciate if they would and understand where I stand on these and any number of issues.
I don't suppose they could donate to your campaign there, could they?
They could, and I would be grateful, because when I'm running against a guy for whom there is no amount of money that he can't.
Oh, yeah. No, Mitch McConnell will raise money like crazy. Okay, Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I like him.
I like him too.
I like him
too.
Probably better than any candidate we've talked to so far.
I would say that is true this time around. I think that's true. Yeah. Now let's continue to do our homework on him. But I certainly like him more than Mitch McConnell. That's for sure.
Yes.
Imagine getting if this guy is who he says he is. Imagine getting him and Louis Gohmert in. Just those two. You get rid of Cornyn and McConnell, and you replace them.
Well, and let's not forget Lindsey Graham. We've got to get rid of Lindsey Graham.
I won't accept any deal that does not have Lindsey Graham out.
You won't negotiate on that?
I will not negotiate on it.
In fact, I was told by a couple of people that he is the best constitutional candidate they have seen in the nation.
Wow.